Subscribe to my channel and click on this bell icon for being updated with my latest content. Hey guys, this is Vishal. In this video, I'm gonna walk you through the topic of error handling in MuleSoft and how can we handle different types of HTTP errors like 404, 500 in our Mule flow. From this tutorial onwards, I'll be using Mule 4 version rather than Mule 3 since most of you guys asked me to switch to Mule 4. Alright, first of all, we'll see what are the different ways of handling errors in Mule 4. Well, there are mainly three handling mechanisms. First one is a on error continue. Here it catches the error and does not report it as an error. Thus, the processing of the flow continues even after the error has reported. This error handler can be used in flows where you don't want to disturb the flow processing even after the error is occurred. Comparing this with Java, it's simply like logging an error. Second one is on error propagate. In this case, in case of any errors, it processes the error message and rethrows the error again to its parent flow so that no more processing is done on that particular flow. If I compare this with Java, it looks like first logging an error and then rethrowing it again. Last one is a try-catch scope. Try-catch scope allows error handling for some specific components within a flow. It is indeed useful when you want to add separate error handling strategy for some message processors in a given flow. If I compare this with Java, it's like enclosing few lines of code in a try-catch block instead of entire method. This is about mechanisms to handle errors in Mule 4. Now if you see at the right hand side, there is a Mule error message structure given with some parameters inside it. Like the cause, it's nothing but the underlying Java throwable that resulted in the failure. Another one is the description of the problem. Then we have error message, which is used to include a proper Mule message regarding the problem. It's an optional one. Then we have a type that is used to characterize the problem. Now let's go ahead and see the practical implementation of this error handling mechanisms. Alright, so first we will implement a simple flow where we will try to call a word time API to retrieve time zone details, and there we will apply some error handling strategies. So let's go ahead with creating a flow. So the first component would be HTTP listener, this one, the second one. So let me click on it and drag it into my palette. Here let's open the properties. Alright, so let's say it's a listener. Let's configure it. So click on this add button. Alright, I'll take the same host and port, and if you go down, there's a base path also over here. So let's oversee here. Let's write get time zone info. Alright, so I click on OK. Now inside path we'll give like there would be two URI params will be taking. One is region, second one is city. By default method name is get. Okay, so if you go to responses, you can see by default it is sending back the response as payload. In case of error, here there is another response. It will show you error dot description. In case if you want to change, you can change it to just like payload. Alright, so I just simply change it. Nothing I'm doing as of now over here. Let's keep it as is. Now the second component what I'm going to pull is logger, just to log the two values what we are receiving from the request, the URI parameters. So this is a logger I just drop it to my process section. Now over here, let's click on this, switch to expression mode. Now in Mule 4 you can write every expression in DWL 2.0 version of language. There is upgradation in Mule 4. We'll look into that later on. I'll create a separate video on the difference between DWL 1 versus DWL 2. So as of now, if you want to print the URI parameters, you can do like attributes dot URI params dot, here the first one is region. Okay, now let's pull the second logger, or in case if you want to append in the same one, to append you have to use 2 times plus symbol, and again attributes dot URI params dot city. Now it will not able to concat both the strings, since it is saying you have to like enclose those URI parameters properly, and it says if the value is the city or the region URI parameter is null, what to do. So in that case we will say if the value is null, then let's take the default as, okay, my bad, default as empty. Similarly over here, okay. Alright, the error has gone. So this will print region and city. Now we will call that REST service using request. So let's pull it, append it to the logger section. Now here I'll say time zone request. Now we have to configure it. So let's click on this add button. Here the host is wordtimeapi.org. Port number is 80, and this one, the base path would be somewhere, I should have it, this one is API. So what time API ORG base path is this one. Alright, that's it. The request configuration is done. I click on OK. Now in the path we have to pass two URI parameters. One is region, second one is city. So let's declare it over here. One is region, second one is city. Alright, now over here we're passing URI parameters, so we have to mention what values we're giving. Alright, so either you can add it over here, or you can switch to expression mode and mention it over there. Okay, you can just enable the larger window, and here you can mention one is region, which is present in attributes dot URI params dot region. Second one is city, again which is present in attributes dot URI params dot city. Alright, I save it, click on this done button. Now it has taken the region and city as a parameter. Alright, now finally let's add one logger to ensure we are at the end of our flow. I just write only a simple string, literal. So we would say end of flow. Alright, that's it. So far we have built the normal flow. Now let's add error handling strategy. So first of all, I'm going to use on error continue. So I click on this and drag into my error handling section. So let me try this once again. Yeah, here it is. Okay, inside its property, inside type, I'm going to search for it. I'm going to apply a strategy for 404 HTTP status. So click on this search button, and here you will find http not found, this one. So I'm going to apply my strategy for not found errors. So when you click outside, it will take the type as a not found. When is nothing but an expression when you want to trigger that error. So as of now I don't want to do that, I'll keep as is. Let's save it. Now inside this block, first of all, I'll be adding transform message where I'll have my custom error message. Okay, so I click and drag it into on error continue. Now inside transform message, I want it as a JSON, so I change the application type to content type as application/JSON, and here I'll mention message colon. Now I want to access the error message, so you have error variable with some parameters in it. So I want to take description. Okay, and before that I want to append like time zone details not found. I'll append it. I just wrap this description inside parentheses and default it to empty. Alright, this is better. Now we have given our message along with the error description, so let's go ahead and try to run and see what do we get. So right click on this project, run as Mule application. Let's save it. So it will deploy on Mule 4 runtime. Alright, my application is deployed. Let me clear the console. Let's go to the Postman and hit the request. So first of all, I'll go with a happy path. So I'll give the proper region and city. Let's see what it gives. It should give us the proper detail of that time zone. So I click on that send button. So it will take a while. Alright, here you can see we are getting proper time zone details for that region and city. So if you go to our console, we are printing that region and city in our log. Here you can see this is the first value and this is second value. We missed to add space in it, that's the reason we are getting in that shape. Alright, now let me clear the console again. This time I'll give some value for which time zone details are not present. So let me give some random value like something I typed. I click on send button. This time I should get that error message. See, the message is time zone details not found HTTP and the error description what we have given. Alright, the same exception you should see on your console. If you have noticed one thing, despite giving us a message of error 404, we're still getting the status code as 200. Ideally, we should get status code as 404. So let's go into MulePoint Studio and quickly fix for that. So let me shut down the server. Alright, let's go to the listener part. Inside responses, for the error response, here inside error response, I'll set the status code for as of now to 404. It's kind of a hard-coded value, but just to take care that 404 error, I'm having the status code hard-coded as 404. So this time it should work properly. So let me clear the console and run it again. Application is deployed. Let me clear the console and hit the request in the postman again. I click on the send button. Alright, again we are getting the status as 200. The reason being, we're using on error continue, which will not propagate your error to further processing. So in order to change status code to 404 or whatever the error you have, we have to change that on error continue strategy to on error propagate. So the simple way to change as of now is just go to the configuration XML. Here there's a tag for on error continue, which is ending over here. Let's change that continue variable to propagate. Rest will remain same. Let's change over here. Let's save it. That's it, done. It's just a quick fix. In case if you want, you can change the document name to propagate. Let's not get confused in that. Okay, message flow will remain same. Now I will shut down my server and restart it again. Alright, application is deployed. Clear the console and hit the request again. So I click on the send button. This time I should get status code as 404. Now see, here we are getting now the status as 404. Now we will explore this on error propagate strategy furthermore by extracting a service which called time zone API into a separate flow, and then we will call that flow from this flow using flow reference. Alright, so we will create a new flow. So the first component I'm going to pull is set variable or a variable component. I'm going to create a new flow where I'll first set the URI parameter which I'm going to take from the request, which is a region and city. So let's pull this and drag it just down this existing flow. So it must have created, it's a bit slow. Alright, I got this set variable. Let's change this display name to region variable, give it as name as region var, and inside value let's write an expression. We are going to take this from the request. In order to take the value from the request, we can write an expression using attributes dot URI params dot region. Alright, now I'm going to take second variable to take city URI parameter. Alright, display name is city variable, name is city var. Okay, I'm going to turn on this expression mode again, similar to the first one, attributes dot URI params dot city. Now in order to print that region and variable, let's add one logger just to ensure we are getting proper value in our flow. So I'll add logger. Okay, let me pull and drag it over here. Now inside logger Let's turn on the expression mode, and here I will write first region value and let's concat it with first value, that is vars dot region var, and default it by empty string literal. Similar to that, let's append one more. Here I will say city value. Let's add one space over here, again colon, and now let's concat the vars dot city var and default it by empty string literal. Alright, this is our expression to print it. Now I'm going to call the same time zone API here, so I'm going to pull request component. So click on it and drag it in and append it to my logger. Let's open it. Configuration would remain the same. Right, now inside path we'll be giving first URI parameter as region, second URI parameter as city. Right, now we have to pass these URI parameters, so I go to URI parameters, I open this expression mode. Here you can write, let's click on this show graphical view, so it will just open it in, it's like a DWL format. Here you can give your value. So first one is region, so region you have it in vars dot region var, and second one is city, city you have it in vars dot city var. Right, you save it. The output of our request is in JSON format, but we want to transform that data is in XML format. So in order to transform that in XML format, we need to use transform message component. So let's go to Mule palette and search for transform message component. So the first one, let's drag it into our flow. Here let's change the output type to application/XML since we want XML data. Keep in mind that this is DWL 2.0, so there is a slight change in syntax between DWL 1.0 versus 2.0. So here let's go to the left hand side. Here you have a payload. Let's click on this define metadata. The metadata is nothing but the format of the JSON data what we are going to receive. So if I open my Postman, this is some sort of time zone details we are going to receive from that API. So let's add that as our metadata. So let's click on this define metadata. Here I have already created a file, JSON file with that sample which has, it's nothing but the JSON format. So I click on select. Okay, let's add the output metadata. Alright, so either you can add output metadata or you can define your logic over here. So first let's go ahead with defining our own logic. So the first component or the first tag I want is time zone info. Right, this is how the XML transformation starts. The first tag, the parent tag, and then opening the curly parenthesis, and here you have to mention all your child tags. So the first I want is week number, so I'll take week number like this. It's there in payload, so payload dot week number. Second I want this one, the time zone, so let's add over here time zone payload dot time zone. It's similar to 1.0, it's minor changes. Third one I'm going to take last two, like date of year and day of year and day of week. So day of year So payload dot day of year. This is in number, so I want it in string, so we have to convert as string, right? There is a difference. If it was 1.0, you have to write like this, as colon string. Since it's 2.0, there is no colon, and first letter of string start with capital. So that's just a difference. Now the second one is day of week, so similar to that, day of week. Again, payload dot day of week as space string, right? This is how it looks. Last one, let's add one logger just to print that output, so our flow would be ready. So let me add the logger, and here I'm going to print the payload, so let's just simply payload. Okay, this is about our flow. Now let's add the error handling strategies. So first, for HTTP not found, so I'm going to add on error propagate. So on error propagate, the second one, let's drag it into our flow over here. Okay, this is for 404, so let's search over here, HTTP 404, this one. Okay, save it. Now one more is for 500, so let me add that too, just below that. Here I'm going to say internal server error, internal, it must be somewhere here. It is. Let's click on that. So I'm going to cover 404 and 500. Now let's write the custom message which you want to pass on to the user. So search for set payload and put the message over here. Let's open it. Here let's write a message saying time zone details not found. Details not found, right? And the error description, error dot description, and default it with empty in case error message is empty, right? Similar to that, let's add it in second error strategy. Let's drag it over here and add error calling time zone API. Okay, like this, and append the error description, error dot description, and default it with empty string literal. Okay, now this is the second flow, we made it ready. Now let's change our existing flow. From here I'm going to remove this request component. Okay, here we'll be adding one more. We have only for not found, I'm going to add for 500. So before that I'm going to use flow reference in order to call our newly created flow. So this is my flow reference. Let me drag between these two logger over here. Okay, and here I'm going to call the newly created flow, the second one. Okay, Alright, now let's add on error propagate for 500. So let's click on this, add it over here. Let's search for the type, again similar to that, HTTP internal server error. Okay, search it. Now let's change inside 404 transform message. We are giving here the message. Actually we are setting the message of time zone details not found over here, but we have already setting it into our flow 1, the newly created flow. So we just have to pass that message to the user. So rather than creating a new payload over here, we just simply mention, just like delete everything and write payload. So it will take everything from the propagated error. So this is about the first one. Okay, now similar to that, let's add for 500. So transform message here and drag it over there. Again similar to this, let's change the output type to JSON, change to payload. Here I'm going to add one variable for HTTP status. Search the, click on variable. Here let's say HTTP status. Okay, click OK. I'm not going to give anything. I don't want any transform message like logic. Just simply I want 500, the variable value, which I'm going to use as a status code. Right, we're done with the error propagation, error handling strategies. Now I'll go in listener. I'll make slight change in error response logic. Here same error response body would be payload, whatever we are receiving. I'll be just making change over here. Rather than hard coding value, I'm going to turn on the expression mode. We'll remove that value. We have created one variable, that is HTTP status. That's the reason I have created that variable. So in every error handling strategy, we have created an HTTP status where we are setting the HTTP error, which we are going to pass as a status code. In case the HTTP status variable not found, then we will default it to 500. Okay, ideally it should found because we have already set that. If it doesn't, then it will set to 500 as a default. Right, there are some errors, but ideally it should be mitigated because there is no, the flow would be executed properly. Okay, a flow is created. Now let's go ahead and run it. Run as Mule application. Click on proceed. Alright, my application is deployed. So let me clear the console, go to Postman. Let's first go with a happy path, giving the valid value. So if I click on send button, I should get the transform XML as a output. So click on the body. As you can see, we are getting the transform XML and we are reading only 4 elements out of that JSON. So this is our happy path. Now let's go and test for 404 HTTP error. So let me change the value for which time zone details are not there. I just added some random value over there. Let's click on send button. This time we are getting the message as we have given in our second flow. Over here we mention the value of that kind, time zone details not found, and then error description. The same is being propagated to the parent flow, and what we have received over here, time zone details not found colon and then error description. Here in HTTP status code, the status code changed to 404, since we are mentioning over there that whenever the error is being propagated from the 404 error handling strategy, status code should be changed to the respective HTTP error code. Now let's go ahead and try to generate other errors by messing with our transformation logic. So here is our transformation logic. What I'm going to do is that I'm just trying to manipulate a day of week the way we are reading the value. So payload dot day of week. So rather than having single dot, I'm just adding an extra dot. I'm just creating a mistake in order to generate an error. So since we have added an extra dot, it will create a mule expression error, which is of not type of like internal server error. So in order to handle this error, we might need to change our internal server errors handling strategy, or you can add an extra strategy. As of now, I'm going to change the existing 500 error strategy to handle all type of errors. So let's go to our strategy. Here inside type, just keep any, which means it's going to handle all type of errors but 404, because for 404 we have already given the separate error handling strategy. Similar to this, we have to make change over here. Let's open this, and here inside type add any. Any means all error. Alright, we messed with our transformation logic. We changed the error handling strategy to any. Now let's go to message flow and run our flow. Click on proceed. Alright, application is deployed. Let's clear the console, go to Postman, hit the button again. Now this time, as you can see, we're getting error calling time zone API, and this is the error. This is mule expression error, which is not able to like transform our JSON form of output into an XML form, and the status code we're getting as a 500. The way we have kept it in our error handling strategy. So this way we can propagate an error from your child flow into your parent flow. Now the last error handling mechanism is a try scope. Here, instead of handling your errors at flow level, there is a provision to handle your errors at component level. So let's say I want to handle errors only specific to my request and transform message component. So what I can do is that I can just wrap these two components inside my try scope. So I click on the both component, right click, go to wrapping and try scope. So it will wrap these two components inside that scope, and here inside this error handling you can mention your strategies similar to what we have done over here on error propagate and on error continue. Whatever the strategies you want to mention, you can add it over here, and the rest goes similar to what we have done over here. So this way you can handle errors in MuleSoft. Thank you for watching.